Welcome back, everyone. Before we dive in, make sure you drop your thoughts and the lessons you took from this story in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. My name is Jordan Reed, and I am 35 years old. At 4 o'clock in the morning, my phone started buzzing on a nightstand. I was not asleep anyway. Work had been brutal lately, and my mind was still running through the slides for a presentation I had to give in a few hours. When the screen lit up with my wife's name, everything else stopped. The message read, something came up. Relax. I will explain, Maya. I stared at those words for a full minute. My wife, who proofreads every text and corrects my grammar without hesitation, had sent me a sloppy message at 4 a.m. for wherever she was not supposed to be. She was supposed to be at her sister's place. Girls' night, she had said. Wine and movies, back tomorrow morning. That was the plan. That had been the plan for a few of these girls' nights lately. I sat up, back against the headboard, looking at the message. Something came up at 4 a.m. Relax. Like I was supposed to shrug it off and fall asleep. But I was not surprised. Disappointed, yes. Angry, absolutely. Surprised? No. The signs had been gathering like storm clouds for weeks. Extra attention to her appearance when she went out with her friends. Her phone always face down. The defensive tone when I asked simple questions about where she was going, when she would be back, who would be there. New emergencies that allegedly required her presence at any hour, as if her friends, grown adults, could not manage their lives without her. I thought about calling her sister, Jasmine, to check, but I already knew what I would find. Instead, I typed, no need to explain. Stay with him. You're single now. I hit send before second-guessing could drag me back. My thumbs were steady. The truth had been steady inside me for days, nudging me toward the edge. The message tipped me over. The phone started ringing almost immediately. Then another call, and another. I declined them all, put the phone on silent, and watched the minutes crawl across the screen. 20 minutes later, tires screeched in the driveway. The doorbell rang over and over, followed by frantic knocking. I took my time getting out of bed. I pulled on a t-shirt, brushed my teeth, and walked slowly to the front door. Through the peephole, I saw Maya standing on the porch in the fitted black dress she had worn out. Her hair was tousled, her makeup smeared, her eyes swollen from crying. Jordan, please open the door, Maya said, voice shaking. I can explain everything. I unlocked the deadbolt, but kept the chain on. I opened the door just enough to see her face clearly. It is 4:30 in the morning, I said evenly. You found time to come home now. She put her fingers against the door. Baby, please, you do not understand. I kept my voice level. I understand perfectly. You were supposed to be at Jasmine's. You are not. You texted me at 4 in the morning saying something came up. Now you are here, looking like you just left somewhere you should not have been. She pressed closer to the gap. It is not what you think. I let the silence stretch. Then what is it? Because it looks very clear from where I am standing. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I was helping a friend. There was an emergency. I raised an eyebrow. At 4 in the morning. She hesitated just long enough to confirm everything. Yes. What kind of emergency? Another pause. She needed someone to talk to. Her boyfriend broke up with her. Which friend? Tanisha. Tanisha moved to Cleveland 6 months ago, I said. The relief drained from her face like someone pulled a plug. I almost laughed. Almost. I meant Erica, she stammered. I was with Erica. She was having a panic attack. At 1 in the morning. I asked. Yes. Erica works nights at the hospital. She has been on night shift for 2 years. Why would she be having a breakdown about her job at 1 in the morning when that is when her shift starts? Maya's mouth opened and closed, searching for footing. In this alleged breakup you mentioned, Erica has been dating that paramedic for 8 months. They looked pretty solid last time I saw them. So when exactly did this mysterious split happen? I got confused, she whispered. You needed time to make up a better story, I replied. She sagged against the doorframe. You are not even trying to believe me. I'm trying to understand how you thought I would believe this. You could have at least picked a friend whose schedule I do not know. Or checked social media to see if any breakups happened tonight. She wiped her cheeks. Please, just let me in. Let me explain properly. You have had 25 minutes to think of an explanation, I said. This is the best you can do. I noticed the neighboring porch lights flick on. Good. Let them see the performance she brought to my front door. I'm telling the truth, she whispered. No, I said. You are not. I started to close the door, but she pressed forward. Where are you going to go? I asked. Back to wherever you just came from. Or are you ready to be honest? She kept crying, kept asking for 5 more minutes. I stared at her. A part of me wanted the past version of us, the one that made simple sense. Another part was relieved to be done pretending. 5 minutes, I said. Here on the porch. Start talking. She glanced over her shoulder at the street. Can we do this inside? The neighbors are watching. The neighbors are awake because you made a scene. Speak here. She took a ragged breath. Okay. Erica called me around 1 in the morning. She was having a breakdown about her job and, stop, I said, raising a hand. Erica is at the hospital at 1 in the morning. She's been for 2 years. Please do not ask me to nod along while you rewrite reality. Her eyes filled again. I was scared. Of what? The truth. She tried again. She was panicking about her boyfriend and the future and, enough, I said. If you wanted to even listen, give me a story that does not collapse when someone breathes on it. She looked small in the porch light. I will give you a number to call, she said suddenly, seizing on a thought. Erica's number. You can confirm. Go ahead, I said. She stared at the floor. I do not have it memorized. I almost laughed out loud. You do not have Erica's number memorized? Erica, who was a bridesmaid at our wedding. Erica, whose number you have dialed 100 times. She swallowed. I am not thinking straight. Evidently. Where is your car? I asked, peering past her toward the driveway. What? Your car. You drove to Jasmine's yesterday. Where is it? She turned to the driveway and blinked at the Honda sitting in its usual spot. It is right there. Interesting, I said, because that car has been here all night. I got up around midnight to get water. I saw it from the kitchen window. I figured you took a rideshare to avoid drinking and driving. Responsible choice, I thought. She trembled. I continued. So if your car was here and you were supposedly across town at Jasmine's, how did you get back and forth? Did Erica the panic attack victim show for you? I can explain, she whispered. I'm sure you can, I said. You are creative. But I already called Jasmine. Right after you started begging on the porch. The color fled her face. You called her. She was very confused about why I asked if you were there. She has not seen you in 3 weeks. She also mentioned you canceled your plans yesterday. Something about something important coming up. I crouched so we were eye level. So, one more time. Where were you? She sobbed, shoulders shaking. If I tell you the truth, she said finally, voice barely there, you will never forgive me. If you do not tell me the truth, there is nothing to forgive. This conversation ends now, and you can spend the rest of the night wherever you spent the last 4 hours. She took a breath that sounded like it hurt. I was with someone. It was quiet enough to hear the distant hum of the highway. There it is, I said, standing. See how much simpler the truth is. She looked like the porch step was the only thing holding her up. It is not what you think, she said. Let me guess, I replied. It just happened. You did not plan it. You were vulnerable. He was kind. One thing led to another. Did I miss any of the classics? She stared up at me. How can you be so calm? Because I'm not surprised. I told you that already. What do you mean you are not surprised? She asked. I leaned against the doorframe. The late nights got more frequent about 2 months ago. The phone always face down became standard 3 weeks ago. The new workout routine started last month. Very dedicated. Impressive, really. And then the sudden interest in shopping on Saturdays. Long trips to boutiques I had never heard of, when you usually shop online. Her jaw dropped slightly. You were watching me, she said. I was married to you. I answered. I noticed you started doing your hair differently on certain days. I noticed how you showered the moment you came home from your errands. I noticed how you started charging your phone in the kitchen instead of on your nightstand. The funniest part, I said, was how you picked fights over nothing. Almost like you needed an excuse to leave the house. She looked down. Remember 2 weeks ago? You yelled at me about how I loaded the dishwasher. You stormed out and came back at midnight. In 8 years, you never once cared how I loaded the dishwasher. That was the night I knew for sure. I am sorry, she whispered. For which part? I asked. The cheating, the lying, or the part where you got caught? She did not answer. Who is he? I asked. Does it matter? It does to me. I would like to know who my wife chose over our marriage. She closed her eyes. Corey Benson, she said. Ooh, Corey. From work. I laughed. A sharp, humorless sound. Corey Benson? The one from accounting who wears suits that look like they were bought in a hurry at a discount store? The one who thinks he is the office gift to women? Do not, she said weakly. This is perfect, I said, unable to help myself. This is absolutely perfect. Corey. The same Corey who hit on Erica at the holiday party while his girlfriend was in the restroom. She flinched. It is not about him, she said. Oh, but it is, I said. You did not just cheat. You cheated with Corey Benson. That tells me exactly how little you valued what we had. I should probably call his girlfriend, I added, pulling out my phone. What is her name again? Whitney, Maya said quickly. Please, do not call her. Why not? Because it will ruin everything. Everything is already ruined, I said. You ruined it when you made your choices. She straightened suddenly. It was one time. Tonight was one time. How many other times were there? That was the only time, she insisted. How long have you been seeing him? She stared at the porch rail. How long? 6 weeks. 6 weeks of what exactly? Flirting? Coffee? Hiding in corners and whispering? Or 6 weeks of this? We did not. Tonight was the first time we had sex, she said, not looking at me. But you were emotionally cheating for 6 weeks, I said. It was not supposed to happen, she said. Walk me through your plan, I said. Were you going to leave me for Corey, or keep sneaking around until you felt brave enough to tell the truth? I do not know, she said. I was not thinking. You were not thinking for 6 weeks? That is a lot of not thinking. My phone buzzed. I glanced at it. A new message. Interesting, I said. That is my lawyer. Apparently, some people do work at 4 in the morning. Her eyes widened. Your lawyer. I called him right after I called Jasmine, I said. Left a voicemail. He is an early riser. You called a lawyer before you even talked to me. I called my lawyer after you texted me at 4 in the morning because I knew exactly what that meant, and I knew exactly what I would do. If this had been a genuine emergency, you would have answered my first call, or my second, or my third. She sank onto the step, defeated. He wants to meet this morning at 9, I said. I should get some sleep before then. You cannot just, she started. We need to talk about this. We're talking, I said. You cheated, you lied about it, you got caught. What else is there to discuss? What happens now, she said. What we're going to do. I know what I'm going to do, I said. I'm going to divorce you. Just like that. Just like that. She began crying harder. What about counseling? What about trying to fix this? What is there to fix? I asked. Tonight you chose him again by lying about where you were. Every day for 6 weeks. You chose against this marriage. People make mistakes, she said. This was not a mistake, I said. It was a series of choices. I started to close the door. Where am I supposed to go? She asked. Corey's place, I said. That is where you wanted to be. He lives with Whitney, she said, voice breaking. Then you both have some explaining to do, I said, and closed the door. The pounding on the door returned. I ignored it and started a pot of coffee. I had a lawyer's meeting in 5 hours and a presentation a few hours after that. The pounding intensified. Then her phone started ringing outside, punctuated by sobbing. I was pouring my first cup when she shouted through the door. He will not answer. Corey will not answer his phone. I almost felt bad for her. Almost. His girlfriend probably found out. I called back. Funny how the truth has a way of finding daylight. You are being completely unreasonable, she yelled. I opened the door, coffee mug in hand. She looked wrecked, mascara streaked down her cheeks, dress wrinkled from sitting on the concrete. Unreasonable, I repeated. Let me summarize. You cheated for 6 weeks, lied repeatedly, snuck around, and now that you've been caught you want me to be reasonable. If it did not mean anything, why did you do it? She pressed her hands to her face. I felt like we were roommates, she whispered. Like the spark was gone. So instead of talking to me about it, I said, you decided to find your spark with Corey Benson? It was not supposed to be Corey specifically, she said. It just happened. Nothing just happens, I replied. You made choices. I am sorry, she said. Sorry you did it. Or sorry you got caught. She was quiet for several seconds. I'm sorry I did it. Are you? I asked. An hour ago you were still lying. I was scared, she said. Of this. Of you hating me. Of losing everything. I took a sip of coffee. You should have thought about that 6 weeks ago. She reached for me, hands shaking. Can we please try counseling? I will do whatever it takes. Will you? I asked. Because 10 minutes ago you were begging me not to call Whitney to protect Corey. That is not remorse. That is damage control. My phone rang. I looked at the screen. That is your mother, I said. Interesting. It is barely 5 in the morning. I answer on speaker. Hello, Carolyn. Jordan, she said, voice tight. Maya called me crying, saying you locked her out of the house. I glanced at Maya, who stared at the floor. Hi, Mom, she murmured. Carolyn, I said calmly. Did Maya tell you why I locked the door? Silence. She said you had a fight. Did she mention she has been having an affair for 6 weeks? Silence again. Then Carolyn's voice came quieter. Maya, is that true? Maya put her face in her hands. I will take that as a yes, Carolyn said. Carolyn, I said, I am meeting with a lawyer this morning. I wanted you to know this is not a decision made out of fury. It is about trust. When it breaks like this, it does not go back the way it was. I understand, she said. I am so sorry, Jordan. Thank you, I said. Maya, you come home, Carolyn said, voice firm. Your father and I need to talk to you. We ended the call. Maya looked up at me, eyes red. My own mother is disappointed in me. She should be, I said. You want this to stay private. You wanted me to carry it alone. I will not. People can change, Maya said. People can learn. You are right, I said. I learned something too. I learned I deserve better than someone who must cheat to figure out what she wants. She stared at me, breathing shallow. Her phone rang again. That is Jasmine, she said. Answer it, I said. I cannot face her. You are going to have to face everyone eventually. She answered reluctantly. Hi, Jasmine. I could hear Jasmine's voice coming through loud and sharp. Are you serious? Have you lost your mind? Maya sobbed. 8 years of marriage, Jasmine said, and you threw it away for an office fling. It is not that simple, Maya said. It is exactly that simple, Jasmine said. I gently took the phone. Hi, Jasmine. Jordan, I am so sorry, she said. I'm embarrassed for her. Thank you for saying that, I replied. I will be all right. You deserve better, she said. I handed the phone back to Maya. Please, Maya whispered into the phone. No, Jasmine said. You made your choice. Do not ask me to clean it up. She hung up. Everyone is going to hate me, Maya said, voice thin. Probably, I replied. How can you be so cold? I'm not cold, I said. I am done being the only person fighting for our marriage. For the first time all night, I felt a small, detached pity. Not enough to change course. Enough to remind me I was still human. By 6 in the morning, I had showered, dressed, and was reviewing notes for the lawyer. That was when 3 cars pulled into the driveway. Carolyn and her husband, Franklin, stepped out of the first. Jasmine and her husband, Trent, climbed from the second. From the third came Maya's Uncle Leonard, who always declared himself a peacemaker despite 2 divorces behind him. Through the window, I watched them gather around Maya on the lawn. The conversation heated and animated. Carolyn pointed and scolded. Jasmine looked like she wanted to shake her. Leonard spread his arms like a referee. A few minutes later, they approached the front door. I opened it before they could knock. Good morning, Leonard said, striding in as if asked. We need to talk. Actually, we do not, I said, stepping aside. But I am willing to listen for a few minutes before I leave for my appointment. May we come in? Carolyn asked. This does not need to be a public scene. I glanced at Maya, still in that wrinkled dress, standing small behind them. 5 minutes, I said, and opened the door wider. They filed into the living room. Maya sat on the couch she had once picked out, while the others remained standing. Carolyn took the chair across from her daughter. Leonard cleared his throat, as if convening a meeting. Marriages go through rough patches, he said. This is not the end of the world, is it not? I asked. From my perspective, my wife chose another man for 6 weeks. That feels pretty final. People make mistakes, Leonard said. Leonard, I interrupted. Did you not cheat on your first wife? And your second? His face reddened. That is not relevant. It is completely relevant, Jasmine said sharply. You are asking him to ignore reality. Trent, who had said nothing yet, shook his head slowly, eyes on Maya. This is bad, he murmured. Carolyn gave him a reprimanding look, then turned to me. In our day, couples work through these things, she said. In your day, I replied, people also stayed for lack of options. I have options. Respect is one of them. But you are throwing away 8 years, Leonard said. I'm not throwing away anything. I said. Maya already threw it away. I'm acknowledging that fact. Maya lifted her head. I made a terrible mistake, she said, voice ragged. But it is over now. It is completely over. Is it? I asked. Because 2 hours ago, you begged me not to call Whitney. That was not about saving our marriage. That was about protecting Corey. I was scared, she said. Of what? I asked. Facing the consequences of your choices. Look, Leonard said, raising his hands. Everyone is emotional. Maybe you should separate for a while. Let things cool down. We are separating, I said. It is called divorce. But that is permanent, Carolyn said. So, is adultery, Jasmine said quietly. Trent nodded. What exactly do you want from me? I asked the room. To pretend this did not happen? To treat 6 weeks of lying like a bump in the road? We want you to consider forgiveness, Carolyn said softly. I have considered it, I said. I forgive Maya. But forgiveness does not require me to stay married to someone who betrayed me. Leonard spread his hands again. That is not how marriage works. That is exactly how marriage works, I said. When someone breaks the foundational agreement, the other person decides whether to stay or go. Maya stood suddenly, hands clenched. I will do anything, she said. Counseling, therapy, daily check-ins, whatever you want. What I want, I said, is a wife who does not cheat. That ship has sailed. Carolyn frowned. You are being awfully cold about this. Am I? I asked. If your neighbor told you her husband had been cheating for weeks and lying about it, what would you advise? Carolyn opened her mouth, closed it, and looked down. You would tell her she deserves better, I said. It is different, she murmured. Because this is family. No, I said. Maya is your family. I am the man she betrayed. Jasmine stood up. This is ridiculous, she said to Maya. You lied. You cheated. You got caught. Stop trying to make Jordan fix it for you. Jasmine, please, Maya said. I'm embarrassed for you. Jasmine said bluntly. This man has been good to you for 8 years, and you threw it away for some office fling. Corey is not a loser, Maya blurted. The room froze. Trent's head snapped toward her. He exhaled a disbelieving breath and shook his head, almost laughing. Did you really just defend him in front of your husband? Maya's eyes went wide. I did not mean it like that, she whispered. Yes, you did, I said calmly. And that tells me everything. Carolyn looked devastated. How could you? She asked Maya. He is not a bad person, Maya said, voice small. Neither am I said. That did not stop you. Leonard tried once more. Emotions are high. Jordan, you are making a permanent choice in a temporary storm. Leonard, I said, I am meeting my lawyer in 2 hours. Maya can stay with you, or with her parents, or anywhere else. But she is not staying here. You cannot just kick her out, Leonard said. Actually, I can, I said. The house is in my name. The mortgage is in my name. We bought it before we married. Maya never wanted to deal with the paperwork to add her name to the deed. She chose convenience then. I choose clarity now. Maya blinked, remembering. So what now? Carolyn asked. Now Maya packs some clothes, I said, and goes with you. I file. We divide our lives and go separate ways. Just like that, Leonard said. Just like that, I replied. Trent finally spoke with certainty. For what it is worth, he said, I think this is a right call. Jasmine nodded. I agree. Carolyn looked from them to me, and then to Maya. Maybe it is, she said quietly. Can I at least pack some things? Maya asked, voice trembling. Of course, I said. Take what you need. She headed toward the bedroom, then paused and turned. I really am sorry. For all of it. I know you are, I said. But sorry does not undo 6 weeks of choices. She disappeared down the hall. Carolyn approached me. We failed her somehow, she said softly. No, I replied. You raised her with values. She chose to ignore them. Will you be all right? She asked. Yes, I said. I will. 3 months later, I sat in my living room on a Saturday morning with a mug of coffee and the newspaper spread open. The same living room where, weeks earlier, Maya's family had argued with me about forgiveness. The same couch where Maya used to curl up beside me for movie nights. Now it was simply my space again, quiet, uncluttered, peaceful. The divorce had been finalized 2 weeks earlier. Maya signed everything without contesting, likely on advice from her lawyer. The house stayed mine. So did my retirement accounts and most assets. Since she brought very little financially to the marriage, and we had purchased the home before the wedding. She moved in with her parents at first. That lasted about 3 weeks. Franklin got tired of the nightly sobbing. Carolyn got tired of inventing excuses for friends. Last I heard, Maya rented a small apartment near the interstate and kept working at the same company. As for Corey, everything there unraveled in spectacular fashion. Whitney discovered the affair, not from me, but from Corey's pattern. He had cheated before, and Whitney had been tracking phone records and receipts. She confronted them at work, in front of half the department. According to my friend Jason, who still worked there, it was explosive. There were printed text messages, screenshots, photos, and hotel receipts. Maya tried to claim she did not know Corey had a girlfriend. That collapsed when Whitney produced a holiday party photo of them, all smiling together at the same table. The company fired Corey for creating a hostile work environment. Maya kept her job, but she was moved to a different department. People kept their distance. She became an island with a nameplate. The final insult came when Corey pivoted to a new woman, a bartender he met while drowning his sorrows after losing his job, within 2 weeks of the blow-up. Maya apparently tried to contact him several times. He blocked her. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I recognized the cadence immediately. I know you probably do not want to hear from me, but I wanted you to know I am getting help. I am in therapy, trying to understand why I made such terrible choices. I did not expect forgiveness, but I want you to know I'm trying to be a better person. I deleted it. She had reached out several times in the last 3 months. Text, email, once through Jasmine. I ignored all of it. There was nothing left to say. Jasmine later apologized for being the messenger. She called to tell me Maya had begged her to check on me. I told her that was delusional. Jasmine said, "You have moved on. She needs to do the same." She was right. Moving on did not mean dating immediately. I was not ready for that. It meant reclaiming the contours of my life. I redecorated. I donated furniture that felt like a ghost. I bought a new kitchen table that fit my taste, not a compromise. I reconnected with friends I had let drift, guys Maya never liked because she decided they were immature or bad influences. It turned out they were just normal men who enjoyed watching football, playing poker, and talking about something other than home projects and couple politics. I started working out regularly. I took up hiking on weekends in the state park an hour west. I learned to cook beyond grilling. Roasted vegetables with garlic and lemon, pan-seared salmon, omelets that did not fall apart. I slept well for the first time in months. Work improved too. Without the background noise of suspicion, the hush of messages, the fabricated errands, the smell of unfamiliar cologne on her scarf, I focused. The presentation that had haunted me on that long night went flawlessly. The following quarter, I earned a promotion and a raise that more than covered the increased costs of living alone. The house felt bigger, but in a pleasant way. No more tiptoeing around moods or guessing what "I am fine" actually meant. Peace had weight. It felt like a well-made blanket settling on my shoulders. Around noon one day, my neighbor Paul knocked. "You want to grab lunch?" he asked. "My wife is visiting her sister. I'm tired of my own cooking." Paul had been a good friend through all of it. He had never been a fan of Maya's temperament, but he kept his opinions to himself until it no longer mattered. "Sure," I said. "Where do you want to go?" "That new place downtown. They say the burgers are good." On the drive, he asked, "How are you doing?" "Truly. Good," I said. "Better than good, actually." "Any regrets?" he asked. "About the divorce?" "None." "About the marriage?" I considered it. "No," I said. "I learned what I will not tolerate. I am grateful it ended when it did instead of 5 years from now." He nodded. "Fair enough." That evening, I grilled on the back patio while the sun dipped behind the maple trees. My phone rang. Carolyn. I considered letting it go to voicemail, then answered. "Hello, Carolyn." "Hi, Jordan," she said. "I hope I am not bothering you." "Not at all," I said. "How are you?" "I am fine," she said. "I wanted to see how you were doing." "I'm doing well," I said, and meant it. "Good," she said. She paused. "I also wanted to apologize again for how things ended, and for pressuring you to take her back. I was trying to protect my daughter." "I know," I said. "You were doing what mothers do." "Still," she said, "you were right about everything." She made her choices. "You deserve better. You handled this with more grace than she deserved. You could have made things worse." "You did not." "I did not want to make it worse," I said. "I wanted it to end." "It has," Carolyn said. I hope you find happiness with someone who appreciates what you offer. Thank you, I said. After we hung up, I stood there a long moment, listening to the quiet. The yard was exactly as I wanted it. Trimmed grass, a clean patio, a small herb garden I watered every evening. The neighborhood's soft noises floated over the fence. It was my life again, my choice, my time. 1 week later, I ran into Jason at a coffee shop near the office. He had been in my department for years, and he had witnessed the Corey incident with the fascination of someone who had avoided the blast radius by inches. You would not believe the fallout, he said, stirring sugar into his coffee. I heard, I said. You know what I cannot shake? He asked. The way Whitney stared at Corey while reading those messages. Like she was looking at someone she did not recognize at all. That is how it feels, I said. You think you know the person next to you. Then you realize you knew the version you were allowed to see. Jason nodded. The new supervisor said Maya is quiet. Gets her work done. Keeps her head down. She will find her way, I said. I hope so, he said, then hesitated. You are really okay? Yes, I said. I am. That night, the sky threatened rain but held it back. I stood at the sink washing dishes and watched a streak of lightning far off. For a second, I thought about those old weekend mornings when Maya and I would plan errands, compare grocery lists, and argue about paint colors. The memory had the clarity of glass. Then it faded. What stayed was the knowledge I had done the only thing that made sense. Maya had texted me at 4 a.m, thinking she could guide the scene, shape the story, convince me to accept the smallest version of the truth. She bet that I would be too hurt or too afraid to follow through. She bet wrong. 2 months after the final decree, Paul invited me to a small backyard gathering. Nothing loud, just neighbors and a couple of coworkers with a cooler of drinks and a playlist of old R&B and jazz. I went because I wanted to test how a normal evening felt again. Halfway through, Paul's wife leaned over and said, "When you are ready, I know someone who might be a good match. She teaches at the charter school down the road. Thoughtful. Funny. Not the type to play games." I appreciate the thought, I said. She smiled. No pressure. It was just good to see you laugh. I realized, sipping my drink, that I had laughed more often in recent weeks. Small, genuine laughter that did not feel like a mask. On a clear Sunday morning, I hiked the ridge trail of the park, the one that winded past a bluff overlooking the river. I stopped at the top and sat on a flat rock warmed by the sun. I took in the view. The water a long silver ribbon, the trees shaking gently in the breeze, a hawk tracing lazy circles in the high blue. I remember that first night, the porch, the pleading, the cold clarity that cut through everything like a blade. It did not feel like a wound now. It felt like a boundary I had drawn, a line that had kept me from bleeding out slowly over years of rationalizations and half-truths. A few days later, I got an email from Maya. The subject line was simply, "I am sorry." The body read, "I know you do not want to hear from me. I know I have no right to ask for anything. I just want to say that I am continuing therapy. I do not expect forgiveness. I want to learn, so I never do this to anyone again." I closed the email. I did not reply. There was nothing cruel in the silence. It was the truest answer I had. Life did not turn into a montage of triumphs and lessons. It simply became ordinary again in the best way. Mornings with coffee and sunlight on the kitchen floor. Afternoons where work was just work. Evenings with a book, a game on television, or a conversation on the patio with Paul about the small dramas of the block. Now and then my mind drifted to the black dress on the porch, the mascara streaks, the way Maya defended Corey without thinking. Not with anger anymore. With the distance you give to something you cannot change and will not invite back. One night, months after everything, I drove past Maya's apartment complex on the way to pick up takeout. It was unintentional. A back road to avoid traffic brought me past the entrance. A porch light flickered on one of the units. A woman stepped out carrying groceries, someone else's life unfolding. I kept driving. My food was ready when I arrived. I parked under a street lamp, walked inside, and gave my name. The cashier handed over the bag and wished me a good night. On the drive home, I realized how steady my hands fell on the wheel. There's a kind of quiet that comes after a storm. Not empty. Full. That was my house on most evenings. The echoes stopped sounding like absence and started sounding like space. Space to think. Space to listen to my own voice. Space to decide who I wanted to be next. The best decision I made did not feel heroic. It felt simple and exact. No need to explain. Stay with him. You're single now. In a moment, it was a message fired into darkness. In the months that followed, it became a path I could actually walk. When people ask what happened, and sometimes they do, gently, because word gets around, I tell the truth. We were married 8 years. She had an affair. I chose to leave. I do not embellish to win sympathy, and I do not soften it to make strangers more comfortable. It is part of my history now, like the scar on my wrist from falling off a bike when I was a kid, or the diploma on my wall that reminds me of the nights I studied until dawn. None of it defines me alone. All of it combines into something that looks a lot like a life. I do not know who I will meet next, or when. Maybe soon, maybe not. But when I think of a night that split my life into before and after, I do not see chaos anymore. I see a man standing at his front door, tired and clear-eyed, saying exactly what needed to be said. I see a porch light shining on the truth. I see the way back inside, where the coffee was brewing and the morning would come whether I was ready or not. And I remember that the most important promise I have is the one I make to myself, the one I kept. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.